Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Today we're going to be playing Dominions 6, Rise of the Pantocrator. Yeah. You have probably never heard of this game. Let's be real honest. You've probably never heard of any of the Dominions game. Unless you're coming to this video specifically because you typed in Dominion 6 or something like that, in which case you probably have heard of the game. Yeah, this is another sort of just kind of obscure, esoteric, incredibly nerdy game that I just kind of fall into and become very interested in. This is a 4X turn-based strategy game. Fantasy 4X turn-based strategy game, I should add. That is quite complicated, but not absurdly so. I don't think the core mechanics of the game are supremely difficult to understand or anything. And where Dominion 6 really shines is just the breadth of options available to you as a player. So it's a very wide ocean of gaming, but it's also quite a deep ocean, you know. It's just good. Now, the first thing I want to mention right out the gate is that I am very new to this game. I've played like 5 hours of the game, you know. I played like 5 hours and I was like, okay, I want to make videos about this. So I will get so many things wrong, and even more things I won't know anything about what I'm talking about, and I'll have to like be Googling stuff. So do not come into this thinking that I'm going to teach you how to play as an expert or anything like that. I'm very new. And there's just quite a bit to learn and experience and stuff like that. I've watched, you know, some videos, some tutorial videos and things like that. But yeah, I'm very much a newbie to this, and a newbie into strategy games in general. I don't play that many strategy games, but sometimes one of them will kind of catch my interest. So, right, it's a 4X, which means that the key components are exterminate, exploit, explore, and expand, I believe, are the 4Xs. But really, I think it's very much a game focused on war and combat. It's all about conquering territories. This is not a game like Civilization where you're worrying about your culture victories or tech trees or building granaries, you know, in your cities. And, you know, it's none of that. Most everything has to do with how can I win this battle here, and what can how should I be preparing for this other battle here, that sort of thing. Like, it's all about war. It's kind of similar to Total War, but definitely some key differences. And one of the biggest differences is that there's no tactical layer. You don't control battles. All the battles are auto battles. So you set things up beforehand. You prepare things. There's like scripts and stuff and formations you set for your units. And obviously a lot goes into that. But once you send something into battle or a battle occurs, your hands are off. You only find out about the result after it's over. And then you can watch the battle. You can watch the replay, but there's no control during battles. I kind of like that, to be honest, because that leaves the stress out of my hands. It's like, well, you know, that's how it went. It can be frustrating, for sure. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing there? Why aren't you doing what I wanted you to do? But really, mostly you can only blame yourself in that situation because you set it up wrong. Anyways, right, so I think we should just get into it. We have a lot to talk about, as you can imagine. I have no idea what the length of this video will be. I'd rather it not be super lengthy because I do want to watch more videos to try to keep learning more so I can come back next time and tell you what I did wrong. There is mod support for Dominion 6. There's a workshop. I haven't really looked at it because I've only played a few hours. The only thing I did see right at the top of the most subscribed was the sprite overhaul. So I grabbed that because, let's be honest, the game's not that pretty, and the sprites themselves are actually not that pretty. This isn't like Heroes of Might and Magic 2, where I really love how the sprites look. They don't look great. So the sprite overhaul, I just grabbed it. We're going to kind of see how it looks. I did look at the kind of previews, and it looked pretty good, so... yeah, but let's create a new world. We're not really going to futz with this, because the two different tutorial videos that I watched, neither one futzed with it, so I think that's fine. There is this option here, so there's wraparound options, where basically, if you head all the way to the east, it will wrap around to the west, so the map is contiguous constantly. And you can set that for east-west and north-south, or both or neither. I've been playing with the east-west wraparound. It's fine, I suppose. It looks a little weird, because if you zoom out, you can see, like, it repeating over and over and over, you know? So I could live without it, but I guess we'll leave it to default for now. And we will enter the game name, which will be Mangg's LPs. Why not? Alright, first big... Well, I guess the map was the first big choice. But next choice is your era. So there's 3 different era. Time will not progress or anything. You are setting this for the whole game, what era that you are playing in and what everyone's playing in. So the early ages are full of magic. Civilization is at its beginning. At most places, iron has not been thought of yet, and armor and weapons are made of wood, stone, and bronze. Mages are most powerful in this age, and there's an abundance of magic resources. It is a time of legends. Middle Ages, civilization has continued to make progress, and modern technologies like iron are now available to most nations. Mages have lost some of their former power, and magic resources are not as abundant as before. And then late ages, iron and steel are readily available, used to arm most troops. Magic resources have continued to dwindle, but mages have become more organized, and their knowledge of the different magic paths are greater than ever before. So the general gist of it is sort of the level of technology, so to speak, and the level of magical power and presence. So if you play the early ages, mages are kind of the dominating force. Whereas if you play later, they're different, you know. Magic resources have continued to dwindle, so you're not going to be stockpiling mages and gems and everything as much, from what I understand. Now, I've only played on early, because that's what the first tutorial video I watched recommended. But it seems like a lot of people recommend middle. So we're going to try middle for this series. And it's also the default option, so it seems correct. All right, now we're going to set easy AI because I'm bad. So they're all going to be easy. You can't play with less than 6 players. So the minimum, I guess, is 6. There's no way to remove players. So we'll have 5 AI opponents. And then we get to the nation choice. Ho, 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 ho. Plenty of options. And yeah, this is obviously the biggest decision you'll be making, because this determines so many aspects of how your game's going to go. It would take a long time to go through all these and read all these. Now, I should say that there are not different options for each era. I mean, there kind of is, but most of these... So, Early Ages has the most nations, from what I understand. And then Middle Ages, a few of them have been removed, because I guess they got wiped out or whatever. And then late ages, that's has the least amount because more have been wiped out or just removed. So I think in early ages, I think there's 35 choices. But mods do add nations, including a popular mod adds a whole bunch of like 19 factions from Warhammer Fantasy, which is pretty awesome. So then you can really get your total war on. So the faction that I started with in the early era that was recommended to me was Ulm. And this one was also recommended in a different tutorial video I watched for Middle Ages. So Ulm is a human kingdom famous for its steel. They use heavy infantry and heavy knights. Even their crossbowmen use heavy armor. Their smiths, earth mages of limited skill, are able to forge magic items at a reduced cost. The priests of Ulm are weak. So, if we go here, we can see a big overview of the whole nation. And these are sort of, you know, they're not dwarves. I don't know. I think, well, in the early ages, they're a bit more Viking styled. I think they actually prefer cold a little bit. And they're meant to be kind of Viking-esque. They have a lot of like dual wielding axe users and stuff like that, and they have throwing axes, and they have sort of Valkyrie-esque. They have like shield maidens and things like that. So they're definitely meant to be kind of Viking themed. But now in the Middle Ages, they're just kind of standard knights, so to speak. But definitely heavy armor. They have black plate infantry here, clad in full plate armor made from the black steel of Ulm. Tower shields, pikes, things like that. And they do actually have black knights with cavalry, you know, with horses. So where they are weak then is in magic. They prefer the strength of steel over magic, and even religion is of secondary importance in Ulm. So their priests are weak, and their magic users are weak. They do not interact with those systems to the same degree that other nations do. But they make up for it, like, you know, with the strength of steel. Their units are pretty good on average. You know, standard infantry is just kind of pretty solid. What's their weakest? Like, so this is their weakest kind of, you know, most basic infantry, and we'll go over all the stats later, but their most basic unit has full chain armor and a half helmet with a battle axe. We'll get into it later, but 19 protection is pretty damn good. And then if you go into sort of their tower shield users here, tower shield, 19 protection, 7 parry. That's very nice on just a regular little unit. Definitely pretty more on the defensive side than the offensive side, but they do have crossbowmen, which is pretty nice. With Arbalest, range 50. So the reason it's recommended is that it sort of removes basically the most complicated aspect of Dominions, which is magic and all the different things you can do with magic. It doesn't remove it. You know, in my few hours playing with Ulm in the early era, there's plenty of magic that occurs, because you do get units that use the magic. Well, actually, yeah, so they definitely get less less magic now in the middle era. So I even in, you know, I definitely had smiths and stuff that could cast spells, and I had shamans that could summon bears and shit like that, you know, things like that. So you're still going to do some stuff with magic, but it's way reduced here. So there's that. Another one that the other video series recommended was Jotunheim, the home of the giants. So you get giants, Jotun Huskarls and Herdmans and Ulfheldens and Thrimsherdings, Jotun Axemen and stuff. they're again pretty similar in that they aren't super into magic. You know, there's not a it's not a race of handy dandy arcane magic users throwing magic missile out all the time. I mean, this is a race of blood and cold and death and things like that. And they'll use magic, of course. They've got, you know, the Skrati, Jotun sorcerer and user of dark magic with an affinity for water and blood. So things like that. But you get some very powerful units in your Jotun. So that's kind of fun too. We may go with that, but I do want to look at some of these other options because there's so many, and I haven't looked at really any of them. You know, they said Ulm, so I was like, okay, fine, Ulm. I went through the starting process along with the video. I was like, okay, I'll do this, fine. I didn't really look at any of these. So, Arcos Skephale, the Old Kingdom, led by astrologers. Mainly use heavy infantry, chariots, and war elephants. The astrologers are powerful astral mages. So this is a faction you can see with not that many units. And not that many different unit types. Hoplites and peltasts and slingers and things like that. They do get elephants, which is pretty cool. But they're obviously going to be a lot more involved with magic. Because they get access to astral magic, which is not super common from what I've seen. Yeah, here, they're astrologers. Level 3 astral mage right out the gate, which is pretty phenomenal. So they do all the sort of stuff with that. Yeah. Legra, deformed giants. There are few. Most of their population is made up of enslaved humans, but there's also a tribe of sheep-herding cyclops living in the land. So again, not many unit choices compared to Ulm, as we saw. But you do get Cyclops warriors, which are pretty cheap, all things considered. And they are pretty painful. Fucking 34 damage Great Club is, needless to say, not pleasant for the receiving end, because the standard sort of warrior here has like 10 hit points. You know? So, yeah, Cyclops warriors are going to be smashing normal humans pretty simply. And, yeah, 3 resource, only 35 gold. That's pretty good. They also have weak and few priests. I don't know what their mage situation's looking like. Yeah, sort of just a random magic, weak priests. Yeah, not super big emphasis on magic. And they also have no sacred troops, which is an interesting thing, which we'll get to eventually. God, I can't go through all of these. There's so many. We're probably just going to go with Ulm just because it is somewhat simple and I can still do some magic. But I mean, there's just so many options. It's hard to say. There's even like the Lovecraftian option, Earlier, an underwater nation made up of mentally superior beings from a fallen star that enslaved a colony of Atlanteans. They get Illithids who use Mind Blast. The star spawn of Earlier are powerful astral mages. So yeah, you get Illithids. Look at that. Range 100 Mind Blast that paralyzes. That's pretty awesome. 37 recruitment points is quite a lot. You're not going to be fielding probably hundreds of these things or anything, but yeah. And the Illithid Soldier has 42 resources. Not cheap either. But pretty damn cool. 25 magic damage. They got Meteorite Cuirasses. Cool. Yeah, their priests can summon Void Beans. Void Sanity. Oh man, they can... High summoning skill increases the chance of summoning powerful monsters from the Void Gate in Earlier. Someday. Someday we will do that, but I think for now we got to keep it pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably Ulm. Jotunheim also kind of interesting just because it would be a little different, but we'll stick with Ulm. I know it's like what every beginner video is Ulm, but I'm going to assume that most of you watching this have not watched other videos on Dominion 6. It's a safe assumption, right? So we're going to be Ulm. Everyone else, all the AI is going to be random, and we will go. So let's go over this a little bit more in detail now that we're picking Ulm. All right, so we get a production bonus in all our castles. And production is very important for Ulm because making units, and that's what it's all about, is making units and things like that. Making units, making magic items, and handling magic. Those are the kind of three big things. So units are created through three sort of sets of currency. There's gold, the universal currency, of course. And gold is mostly spent on units. You can make a few different types of buildings, but most of your money is going to be spent on making units. So that's important. But you can see the gold cost for this black plate infantry is actually pretty cheap. 10 gold is not much almost at all. It's very, very low cost in gold. But resources, it's much higher. And resources is sort of the catch-all currency that's not gold. So it's, you know, you mine it out and we'll get to the specifics of it, but it's just currency A, currency B, essentially. But units that require equipment or armor or shield, you know, as part of their standard loadout like this, tend to be much higher in resource cost than in gold cost. Whereas, like, sort of war elephants or something that's much more bestial or natural or doesn't have as much of a cost in actual equipment, they are going to have a higher gold cost than a resource cost on average. So we want a lot of resources for Ulm compared to gold. The resources are more important to us because that's going to be the biggest factor in how much we can recruit or not. Then there's recruitment points, which is the third thing. Not exactly sure how it's all generated. There's a lot of factors. But 9 recruitment points is not exceptionally high or anything. As we saw, some of those like Illithids or whatever, like 50 points or whatever, like that's a lot higher. So bottom line is if we can keep our resource numbers high, keep that flowing, we should be able to pump out a good number of units. Because our units are not exceptionally strong compared to like the Illithid or the Jotun or, you know, things like that, the really special big boy units. Ours are just men, but in good armor. So production bonus in all our castles helps us with getting resources, because that's what production does, is provide resources. Our military is composed of heavy infantry, crossbows, knights, and superior armor. So our defense is our biggest advantage in combat. So we want to utilize that to our advantage. Magic, we are primarily earth and fire. So our priest smith starts as a level 1 fire mage and a level 2 earth mage. So that's where we will get most of our spells from, is those kind of schools of magic. Actually, elements of magic, I should say. Rarely air and astral. So where do we pick up that from? Right. So every time we make a master smith, why does it say 0? It's weird. I don't know why it says 0. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but Right. So every time we make a Master Smith, I assume, they will become a level 1 Fire Mage and a level 2 Earth Mage, guaranteed. But then there's a 20% chance each time we make one that they will be +1 in Fire or Earth, or they'll pick up Air or Astral. So there is a slim chance that we'll end up with a little bit of Air or Astral sprinkled in among our Master Smiths that we make. But it's obviously not a big aspect of our nation. We also have superior magic item forging. So that comes from forge bonus here. Very efficient when forging magic items. The bonus is the cost reduction in gems. So gems are the sort of currency used for a lot of magic. Not all, actually most spells don't require gems. I don't know if I want to say most. Most lower level spells don't require gems. As you get higher, they definitely do. And there's gems for every different element. So there's fire gems, there's earth gems, there's air gems, so on and so forth. And these are collected from various special locations that you can find around the map. As long as you can control them and you have a lab built on the tile, you can harvest those gems every turn. And you sort of accumulate these gems, and they are, well, we'll get into specifics later, but yeah. So gems are the currency for magic, including magic item forging. And forging is not that complicated. Basically, as long as you have a magic user that's on a tile with a lab, for their turn, they can make a magic item. They can't make any magic item. They have a limited selection of the things they can make based on their spell levels and stuff. But making those magic items requires gems. Sometimes a lot of gems. Thankfully, our Master Smiths have a 2-gem discount on every magic item they want to make. So, yes, we will be making a lot of magic items because those are really good for our big special commander units in battle. So we want our Black Lord decked out with all the niceties of magic items. He wants a magic lance, and he wants a magic armor, and he wants magic rings, and we'll be providing all that shit for him. Because a good commander that's decked out and everything can fucking solo, you know? You can solo little armies. So, yeah, we'll be making a lot of Master Smiths and making a lot of magic items. Smith's research is not affected by the drain scale. What a fucking... like, just mind-boggling sentence to read, you know? But at the start of the game, you don't know that many spells. Your kingdom is not aware of many spells, and you have to research. So you have to research different schools of magic. You have to research enchantment, and you have to research conjuration and evocation. And so to do that, you have to have your mages spend their turns doing research. So smiths can research. They're not particularly good at it, all things considered, because we're not really a magic nation, but they can do it. And what's very nice is that they are not affected by the drain scale. We'll get into all the scales and everything later. I'm sure I'm going to say that 100 more times. But basically, the scales are sort of the passive effects of every tile in the game. And these are swayed by the dominions of the different nations and their gods. The whole game's about gods and religion and everything, because you're trying to get your god to be the new head god of all gods. That's basically the goal. So every tile has these different scales that influence things positively or negatively in different directions. So some tiles will be better for productivity, and they'll produce more resources, whereas other tiles will be bad for research. That's drain. So if you're on a drain tile that's harming your research points, your smiths, your mages, will produce less research that turn. So our smith's research is not affected by drain. So we actually like drain, because other nations are affected by drain. They do less research, when on drain tiles. So we want to spread drain as much as we can, because it hurts others more than it hurts us. So that's an important thing that we'll get to. Our priests are weak, but they are inquisitors. I have no idea what that means. Here we go. Inquisitor. The priest is very efficient when preaching against other faiths. The priest's level is doubled for this purpose. Okay. So the game's called Dominions because it's all about dominions. It's kind of like it's all about the cones. You are trying to spread your dominion, or spreading your faith across the whole world. Because we're going to set up sort of our dominion in the next step. And our dominion is favorable to us, typically. You know, we want to be in our own dominion because the scales are going to be influencing us in positive ways. So we want to spread our dominion. It does other things as well. You actually get a morale boost if you're fighting in your own dominion. I think there's some other effects. I'm not exactly sure of everything. It also can affect. I don't know all the effects, but the bottom line is you want to be in your own dominion, and so part of that is then having your priests sort of spread the faith and proselytize and convert different regions to your dominion. So our inquisitors are especially good when preaching against other faiths. So if we're up against a dominion of an enemy, then we are especially good at converting it over to our dominion. So that's a nice thing. So our priests are not especially strong or anything, but we do have that factor. Scales and blesses. So this has to do with your dominion. Our dominion can feature a +1 productivity limit, so we can actually squeeze out more productivity than other nations if we choose to. And also our drain limit is increased, so we can have a higher drain if we want, which we do. So we want both of those things because those are both good for us. We'll get to that in the next step. As for buildings, we have standard forts, although Master Masons can build better forts. Mason will be able to upgrade a fortress one step further than normally possible. Okay. So I guess we'll get to building everything later, but basically there's 3 types of buildings. There's forts, there's labs, and there's temples. Labs are the magical buildings, temples are the religious buildings, and then forts are sort of the general kind of defense and administration buildings. They're a big factor for a lot of different stuff, but mainly like your income and your resource income. So there's the base level is palisades, so you have to build palisades first, and then you can upgrade to a fort. We can go to standard forts unless we have a master mason involved, in which case he can go to the next step above that, which I think is a fortress. Also, all of our forts produce 25% more resources, which again is very important to our nation, so that's a good thing. Okay? We'll go over all the units later because we're not going to have access, I don't think, to everything right out the gate. So, actually, we might. I have no idea. We'll see. But that's everything there. All right. We're only 34 minutes in. There's a lot to go over. So next we pick our god. So this is what they call the pretender god. Every nation is following a pretender god. They are deities, essentially, but they're all vying for the throne of the true god, who just died, I think. I think that's the lore, is that the true god just died, so we're all fighting to become the next true god. So what we get is, well, so we're determining the effects of the god that we follow, but we're also determining his avatar, his physical form on the realm. which is basically a commander. It's a unit that you get to move around and control. It's a very generally powerful unit and an important unit. So this step is just as important as determining which nation we're playing, because this determines a lot of different things, including generally our most powerful unit, the bless effects that our nation has if you get blessed, and our dominion effects, the different scales that affect us. So if we click on this, we get to look at all the different physical forms possible, and there's not an overwhelming number or anything like that, but they definitely vary kind of wildly. There's some like a Sinja, a female Aesir, that is just basically just a big giant badass with armor and a sword, you know. Or you could have a dragon, which is quite a bit different. Or you could even have a fucking well. Things like that. And this one's interesting because this one can't move on the map ever. So there's a lot of choices here, and I haven't really gone into too many of the videos about what makes a good pretender god. The one that I was recommended in the first videos I watched for Ulm for the early era was Keeper of the Bridge. So he's a fairly combative pretender god. He's got chainmail on. He's got a broadsword swinging for 26, 15 protection, 20 strength, you know, good speed, all that kind of all around. But he also has Air Mage level 1, Earth Mage level 1, Nature Mage level 1, and some extra magic resistance, so on and so forth. He provides an order scale limit of +1, which is pretty good. It's still a pretty solid choice, but I'd like to do something kind of different. So we're going to look over them. Now, I see some of these are reduced cost. This one says reduced by 20 points for this nation. I don't know why. This is a pretty simple one, though. He's got full plate mail and a broadsword. He's got Fire Mage 1, Air Mage level 1, Earth Mage 1. And he has Combat Caster, so he's exceptionally good at casting spells in melee. 50% chance of trying to cast a spell in melee, and the chance of being interrupted by damage is halved. Also, fatigue from armor encumbrance is not doubled like it is for ordinary units. So he's meant to be kind of a frontliner, casting various like buff spells and, you know, combat spells and things like that. 210 leadership is phenomenal. 18 protection, 15 attack, 22 strength. I mean, yeah, this is a frontliner meant to kick ass. It's also size 8. A normal human, I believe, is size 3. Yeah. So, basically size, the biggest factor of that is that on the battle screen, groups of units take up squares, and so the number of size that each square can hold is 10. So basically, being size 8, not much can stand in the same square as him, which means that, you know, he can't like it's easy for him to kind of get surrounded and get wailed on by like 10 other humans or, you know, something like that. I think that's a pretty solid choice. I'm definitely leaning in that direction because that seems like something we'd like to go with, is just kind of a straightforward frontliner badass. There's also the Titan of the Forge, reduced for our nation. He's a little bit more involved. He's a crippled god, mutilated in prison, and given tools of smithing. So this is a smithing deity. He's got productivity scale limit +1, and from what I understand, that will not stack with our nation's productivity scale limit, which might be why he's discounted, but I don't know why the other one is discounted. He's fire mage level 1, earth mage level 2. He's fire resistant. He gets a 20% forge bonus. That's pretty nice. He's a master smith. For the purpose of crafting magic items, he can add the value of this ability to all the magic paths he knows. Damn. That's pretty good too. But he does have a limp. So his combat speed is halved, attack -1, defense -1, map move -4. So this is not a combat pretender god. He's got 3 protection. And you can modify, I mean, you could deck him out with magic items and stuff, but he's really not meant to do it, except that he hits really fucking hard. But yeah, mostly this is a smithing god, which I think is kind of a decent choice, but probably not something we really need, because we already have good smiths. One thing that I did see recommended was actually going with this boar, just for like a starting player with Ulm. And that's because the boar gets recuperation. So he heals its afflictions over time. And he gets pretty high innate protection, 26 strength, 20 combat speed. He hits really hard. And he has 102 hit points. And he has nature magic, which includes stuff like regeneration and heal and stuff. So he can cast regeneration on himself, charge into battle. He's got Berserker +5, getting increased attack, strength, protection, reduced defense, will never break in battle. And trample, so you can just charge through enemies and just kind of shred. This is the sort of thing you'd throw solo into some small armies by himself, you know. I think that's pretty interesting direction too. I wish I knew why this guy was discounted. He is still more expensive, though, than the boar. So I guess let's try the boar. All right. So when I say expensive and all that, it all comes down to these design points, which we're going to be spending on all these various things. Magic, bless effects, and dominion. Before we get to that, you can also choose his imprisonment status. So if he's awake, you get no bonus. He starts in your home province on the first turn, so he is there, he is present, he is under your control, ready to go. You can gain 150 points, though, which is a lot, to make him dormant. He'll awake in a year's time, give or take a few months. So 1 month is 1 turn in game. So on average, you got to wait 12 turns, which is a decent amount of time to not have your pretender god. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, you know, plenty of people, I'm sure, pick this option. But, you know, it is nice to have a pretender god right out the gate, but not necessarily. Maybe you use those points to get better scales or bless effects or things like that. It depends. You know, there's a lot of factors there. Or you can give him imprisoned, which will break free in 3 years' time, give or take half a year. So on average, 36 turns. That's a long investment in a game like this, I think. But 350 points is a massive amount, and basically you're not too worried about ever seeing your pretender god, and you care more about the other aspects. We'll stick with Awake, because, I don't know, I want to have my boar now. I don't want to have him later. All right, so magic. You can increase his level of different magic elements. So if you want to make him a level 2 nature mage, that will cost you 8 points. If you want to make him 3, that will cost you 16 points. Going to 4 costs even more points. There is a lot of schools of thought. New path costs you 80 points. So if you want to give our boar astral magic, that's going to cost 80 points right out the gate. Then it's cheaper to go up after you take the new path, but that's a big investment. So probably you're not going to go into too many new paths, if any. Um, so if we go up here, if we go to Nature Magic 4, then our priests get Final Rest and Word of Thorns as custom spells. Whereas if we don't, they just get the standard Banishment spell and some Smite spell. So it can be worth it to grab that, I think. We go up to level 4 Earth Magic, pull from the grave Word of Stone. I don't know what these are. I'd have to Google it. I don't think you can just look here. So I'd have to Google to see exactly if that's worth it. Our boar is not really going to be big on spell casting or anything like that. This is mainly just going to be a big combat commander that we throw into battle and trample opponents. So we're mainly looking at big buffs, self buffs and stuff like that. And thankfully that is in Earth and Nature in spades. So these are mainly what we're kind of interested in. It's just a question of how much do I want to invest in these. Before we get to that, let's look at the other stuff. So, bless effects. So these are things that all your prophet will receive and any blessed holy troops will receive. So if we go back to this screen, I don't know if we have any regular units that are sacred. I would imagine not. I don't know what we'd have that's really sacred. But our commanders are often sacred. So like our priest smith here is sacred. They're extremely devoted to the god's cause. They can be blessed and only require half the usual cost to maintain. So any unit that has this sacred thing, which, like I said, is not going to be too many. Our black priests, our priest smiths, our black acolytes, they are all going to be sacred, as well as our prophet will be blessed. So the bless effects will apply always to our prophet, and you can only have one prophet at any given time. And then it will apply to our sacred units if they become blessed, usually through like a priest casting the bless spell on them. And so right now, since we're only level 1 Earth, level 1 Nature, we don't have many bless choices. But say we pick okay, well, say we went to level 2 Earth and we pick Strength of the Earth. Blessed units receive +1 strength. So let's go level 2, and we can pick Strength of the Earth, and that's it. And we actually, we can't even take that, I don't think. -1 bless. Yeah, so we'd have to do that just to get that, and then we would have +1 strength on any blessed units, which obviously is not a massive factor. So I don't think really bless effects are going to be where we shine with the boar and with Ulm, because we just don't have that many sacred units, whereas some nations are going to have loads of sacred units, and blessing is much more important to them. They're a much more religious nation. So I guess we could do that just for the sake of having a buff. There's also reinvigoration. They recover from fatigue at a much higher rate. Fatigue is basically generated every time you attack or every time you cast a spell. We don't care that much about the spell casting portion, although it is nice. But since we're very heavily armored, I think that might actually be better. But considering that our only sacred units are going to be our priests, actually, then yeah, we probably do want reinvigoration rather than strength. So we'll take that instead. There we go. I think that makes sense. Because there's no MP system. It's pretty much fatigue. So you rack up fatigue with every spell you cast, and then once you hit 100, you can't cast anymore until time ticks by and you recover your fatigue. So getting reinvigoration, not a shabby idea. Then there's the Dominion. So these are going to be the scales. So for our dominion, say we go here, this is order / turmoil. So if we go into the positive section, which is order, then our dominion, if we have control of, the region and our religion is the dominant force, whatever, then these effects will be in place. Our income will be increased by 3%. Our unrest reduction will be +1. Our recruit points are +10%. Our resources are +3%. And events occur 2% less. So those are all good things. We want those things. The opposite is turmoil, which is basically the opposite of everything I just said. Now, that's not to say that most nations want order. Order is good. There are some nations I know that actually do want chaotic lands. They benefit from unrest and turmoil and things like that. But most want order. But then, you have like here, this is heat and cold. So if we go into heat, you see that it's -5% income and -10% supplies. Those are bad. You don't want that. If we go into cold, -5% income, -10% supplies. It's the same thing. And that's because we're normal humans. We don't have a preference for really cold or really warm areas. We like it to be temperate. That's where we thrive mostly. So there are, of course, like the Jotuns, they prefer, I believe, a -2. They prefer a cold at level 2, I believe. So these would not be negatives to them. But they would have negatives in any region that's warm. Whereas other nations, desert nations or whatever, they prefer warm. And so this is where it kind of, the dominions kind of butt heads, and you want to spread your dominion as much as possible because it's suited specifically for your nation. But then, like, weather actually will get influenced by the seasons and things like that, and blah, blah, blah. But then, like, so yeah, if you're playing the Jotuns, the ice giants, you like being in the cold, and your region will actually be colder because of your dominion effects. And so when you leave your dominion to go off on a war and you go fight the desert people or whatever, you're at a great disadvantage for multiple reasons. So for us, we want it to be pretty temperate. Productivity / sloth. So if we increase that, that's +3% income, +15% resource generation. So this is a big thing for us, and that's why we have... Normally, you're limited to +2 or -2, but we are skewed a little bit, and we can go to +3 or -1. So +45% resources. We're definitely going to be going for that. Growth, death. Growth +1% income, +10% supplies, +0.2 or 0.20% growth. So supplies are basically every turn, every unit in a tile needs a certain amount of supplies. So you can only stack so many units in any given tile based on the supply supply number. So having higher growth allows you to sustain more units in any given tile. Growth is population growth. Pretty much the biggest thing that population factors into is your income. The more people you have, the more taxation you get, so the more gold that comes in. I don't think it influences resources at all, but I'm not exactly sure. So we want growth, of course, and we want supplies, but I would not say growth is insanely important for us. Fortune and misfortune. So if we increase that, events occur 5% more often, and our luck is increased by 10%. So events will happen more often, but they'll also be more likely to be good events. Whereas misfortune, events will happen more often, but they're more likely to be bad events. You don't want bad events. They're pretty bad. Buildings just get fucking destroyed and shit. Then there's magic and drain. So magic increases your research points, which allows you to research more spell schools quicker. Whereas drain decreases your research points, except for our smiths, who ignore that. So this is the thing that we really want, and lets us go down to 3 drain. And because that's generally a negative effect, we actually get design points for going down drain. So it's a no fucking brainer. If you're playing Ulm, you're going to want 3 drain. So I would say if we really want to craft a good Dominion and have good scales, we definitely want 3 productivity. We'd probably like some order. Am I limited? I must be limited on order somewhat. That's from he has a turmoil scale limit +1 and a growth scale limit +1. So because he has a turmoil scale limit +1, we actually can't go to 2 order, which is a bit of a bummer, but not the end of the world. And I'm not about to go into turmoil. We'll leave temperature where it is. Growth. Yeah, we'll take +1 growth, but I don't know if I care to go all the way to 3. I don't think it's super necessary. It's a very small income bump combined with the growth bump. The only thing that I might consider is if growth impacts resources, but I really don't believe it does. I really don't believe it does. I'm pretty sure. Resource, blah, blah, blah. Resources are reduced by unrest, like income. Resource amount is affected by province type, unrest, forts, some magic sites, special units, dominion scale, order, turmoil, productivity, sloth. Yes. So, no. Growth, population has no effect. So we'll go +1, but that's about it. And fortune, I think we probably want to bump that up, which gives us 76 design points left. And we probably want to increase our nature a good amount. And that allows us to grab another bless effect. So we could grab, resilience, forest survival, maybe strength of the earth. Yeah, or we could go a tick larger. I'd have to go up to 4 in either. Yeah, I have to go to 5 for recuperation. But if I go to 4, just grab unbreakable. Or we go 4 earth, 3 nature to get larger. All sacred units of size 9 or less will be larger, stronger, and able to withstand more damage. Does not require the sacred unit to be blessed. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Can I afford that? -4 plus points. I'd have to get a lot more magic. No, I can't afford that. But we can go to 4 or 4. I don't think I can really afford to, we can got 4 survival. There you go. We'll do that. So we got 4 earth, 4 nature. No other magic, but I think that's fine. I think this is okay. Oh, no, there was also dominion. That represents the strength of the pretender god's divine power and measures how strongly the pretender god will influence his surroundings. A strong dominion can weaken the dominions of enemy pretender gods in nearby provinces. So that can go all the way up to 10 if you want. Maybe that's a bigger factor that I should be accounting for. Maybe I should tick down to 3. And go to 4 power, 4 dominion strength. All right, we'll do that. All right, yeah. And our boar god's name will be Amalgad. All praise Amalgad. All right, then there's all the world generation options and choices and things like that. Which we're really not going to mess with because I don't know enough. So that'll be fine. and the victory condition. So there's two options: conquer all, win by eliminating all other pretender gods, so total map sweep, or victory by thrones of ascension, which can also win by eliminating all other pretender gods, or by claiming enough thrones of ascension. So these are pretty much just spots on the map, and you have to control them, and you have to control all of them for a turn, and then you win. So you can customize how many points you need to control and how many there are in the world. They are controlled by a independent force, so just non-faction controlled mooks and stuff. So level 1 thrones guarded by a slightly larger than usual independent force will yield 1 ascension point and a minor bonus effect to the pretender who claims it. Claiming a throne requires a pretender, disciple, or a level 3 priest. Level 2 thrones, guarded by a large independent force, will yield 2 ascension points and a good bonus effect to the pretender who claims it. And level 3, huge independent force, 3 ascension points, powerful bonus effect to the pretender who claims it. So the default settings have 6 level 1 thrones, and you have to have all 6 to win. I think that's fine. Cataclysm. After a certain number of turns, a worldwide cataclysm event will occur that forces a pretender to ascend in a few months' time. Enable this if you want to limit the maximum length of a game to a certain number of turns. We won't futz with that. So I think we're going to just leave everything on default, and we have to control all 6 thrones to win, or just eliminate every other faction. Then it will generate our game. How long did that take? Oh, only an hour. I didn't want this to be that long of a video, but I haven't really explained much. Alright, in the beginning there was chaos. Now the wheel has turned once again. Welcome to Dominion 6. Alright, so, as you can see, if you zoom out, that's the east-west wraparound. So if we go over here, it'll touch back into our own region. There's not north-south wraparound, so, yeah, I don't think there's anything more to the south here. But I'm not sure. There could be. Alright, so we currently only control one settlement. Our capital, Ulm, of course. So I guess we should go over all the different aspects of a settlement in a region. So the terrain here is plains and river. So this is a high-income region. Population is 39,000. So this gives us a high income and a high resource value. What? But the wiki said what? I don't know. Oh well. So our income is 584 gold. So every turn, as long as we control Ulm in the state that it's currently in, we will get 584 gold added to our coffers. And you can see that up there. Resources. Every turn, we'll get 222 resources here. Gold can be accumulated. You have a treasury that accumulates gold, so if you don't spend it, it just keeps adding up. Resources cannot be accumulated. If you don't spend a resource, it's thrown away. So spend those resources every month if you can. Recruitment points. Like I said, these are used to recruit units. There's also commander points that are used to recruit the commanders. We'll get to all that in a second. So we have 436 recruitment points, 3 commander points. Supplies, 1,373. That's how many, every unit has a supply cost. One human-sized unit requires 1 supply point in order to be well fed. So theoretically, we could sustain 1,373 human units in this region. Currently, we are using 100. Our defense value, this is local defense, so that's 25. You can spend gold to increase the defense value of any province you control. This will reduce unrest every month, and will also be a sort of garrison force if anyone attacks and you're not there, or if you're there. Anybody attacks, you have these units. So obviously this is our capital. It's set at 25 to start. So it's a decent selection of crossbowmen, infantry, pikemen, so on and so forth. You can't take these units out or anything. They exist only as provincial defense. And this is also a one-time cost if you want to increase it. So if I bump this up to 26, that'll cost me 26 gold right now. Whereas we can't take it out. But yeah, so it's a one-time cost. You dump into a province to bump up its defense, and that's that. One thing that's not really mentioned here is that there are certain thresholds that you can reach with your defense value here to stop certain negative events from occurring. So I think 6 is the lowest minimum to stop a certain number of negative events, and then 11, and then it's like 21 or something like that. So you should have a bare minimum of 6 probably everywhere you control, just to stop some of the really nasty negative events. But I always recommended to go to 11, I guess, with every province, but it depends on how you want to spend your money. And then unrest. So this reduces tax income, and a value of 100 or more makes it impossible to recruit troops here. Also, you know, has a factor on negative events and stuff. So obviously our capital is perfectly fine. Then our dominion. So this province is under our dominion. Dominion strength of 2. So we have order 1, productivity 3, growth 1, luck 2, drain 3. Those are all the things we pumped in. If we look at a different region, Trensibor, you see that's under no dominion. Farrow Woods, no dominion, no dominion, no dominion. None of these are under anyone's dominion, at least as far as we know. So our dominion currently is only here. But we will be working to spread that. Buildings and sites. So our capital does have a citadel. So this is our big boy fortress kind of thing. So this increases our administration score, which is very important because this determines mainly a resource and income. So how resources work. Income is based, I think, just generally on the tile itself, whereas resources are pulled from adjacent regions. And they're pulled in from forts. So since I have a fort here, it's pulling in resources from this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile. If I controlled all those tiles, I mean. Right now it's not. So, and based on the administration score, it's pulling in a certain percentage of their available resources. But if I build a fort, say in Redbud Grove, it will not pull resources from that tile because that tile will then be pulling from its own tile as well as any tiles adjacent to it. And there's only a certain number of resources. You can't like cheese the system by building a fort everywhere. And from what I understand, you actually don't want a fort in every tile or in every like adjacent tile. You know, you want to spread it out so you can try and maximize your resource gains. But like I said, resources are not like a universal currency. So the resources that I gather in Ulm, I pretty much want to spend in Ulm. The resources that I might gather in Sylvania, I probably want to spend in Sylvania. They don't carry around the whole map or anything the way that gold does. At least that's how I understand it. Right, so yeah, so administration, important, and that's why you want bigger and better forts to pull more resources and income and stuff, and also provides a higher supply number. Provides extra commander points, recruitment points, resource bonus, has certain amount of information about the defenses and stuff, blah, blah, blah. We have the laboratory. This is the magic building, so this lets you recruit magic units, cast ritual spells, and forge magic items. So you can't do any of those things if there's not a laboratory built on your tile. Temple is a similar thing, but for religious stuff. And also, this has to do with spreading your dominion. So this temple in our capital has a 70% chance per month of spreading 1 dominion point to an adjacent tile, I guess. Right. So temples are important for spreading your dominion, and we probably want to do that because we want a lot of resources. It's all about resources. We have the Keep of Ulm. This allows for the recruitment of Master Masons, Black Priests, Priest Smiths, Lord Guardians, and Guardians here, and the Forges of Ulm, which produce 5 Earth Gems per turn, which is very nice. That's why we have 5 Earth Gems, and we get 5 more every month. And we're going to be using that to cast spells and make magic items. So those 2 things are obviously exclusive to our capital, so we will not be able to recruit these types of units anywhere but here in Ulm. And of course, as you can imagine, transporting units and all that is kind of a factor. All right. So much to go over. Right, next. Let's look at recruitment. Oh, so many choices. Right, so you can recruit commanders and you can recruit units. Commanders command units. Units cannot move anywhere on the map. They cannot do anything without being led by a commander. I think they can be part of just a garrison if I recruit them and they sit here, but that's about it. So I've already gone over all the currencies that are required for recruiting. So now we kind of just have to figure out what units, what commanders do we want to build. There's a staggering number of decisions to make here. Where do we even begin? I guess let's look at a unit and go over all the stats. So let's go over our standard sort of infantry here with a battle axe. So we already know the currencies. Hit points. 12 hit points. This represents the amount of damage a unit can withstand before dying. An ordinary human soldier has about 10. Our infantry has 12, so they are above average on hit points. It's pretty simple. And, you know, like I said, a battle axe here does 22 damage. And that is reduced by protection. So some units, of course, will have natural protection, you know, scales and things like that, whereas most units are going to have armor of some kind. So the protection value is subtracted from the attacker's strength and weapon damage when calculating the total effective damage on a target. Light infantry units have protection values ranging from 3 to 10, while knights might have a protection of 20 or more. So we are definitely not light infantry. We are like double light infantry, and we're close to just being a knight on our basic guys, which is pretty good. And what's even better is that our protection works for both our body and our head. So there are 2 different factors. You can get hit in the body or the head, and if your body is fully protected but your head isn't, and you take a blow to the head, you're probably just dead because you have no protection there, so the damage is not reduced at all. So very nice to have both of those fully up at 19. So that means that if we had an infantry attack another infantry, that would be 22 damage minus 19 for 3 damage, which we could withstand a few hits from our very deadly battle axe. Whereas if you go up against, like, here, War Dog, actually, War Dog has mail board. Yeah, even our War Dogs are armored. Let's see, our Black Acolyte has 0 protection. I mean, it's a priest, you know, it's not meant to be a frontliner, but yeah, he would take full 22 damage and just get obliterated instantly. Our Master Smith has 8 protection from his ring mail, so he would take 14 damage and also die instantly. So, yeah, I mean, 22 damage is very nice, and 19 protection is very nice, so that's all good. Size is 3, as mentioned, so we can fit about 3 of these guys in a single square, which is good. Which means that if we're up against a size 8 creature, we can have 3 of our guys against 1 of his guys. His guy obviously would be a lot stronger, but 3 of our guys are all swinging for 22 damage, and that's pretty good. Magic resistance. This is mainly due to like various debuffs and mind affecting spells, sleep spells, stuff like that. Spells like fireball, direct damage stuff, things like that are not affected by magic resistance, as actually affected by defense. So our magic resistance is normally 9, which is slightly below average. But because we're into Drain, which increases your magic resistance, we do get a bump from that right now. Morale. Morale is pretty important because, much like Total War, units can get routed. And at a certain point, if enough things die and go wrong and blah, 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 morale checks will fail and you will flee the battlefield, which is bad, obviously. So, base morale of a normal human soldier is 10, which is true for us. But because we're in a friendly dominion, we get +1 to that. And we're in our home province, we get +1. Leading to 12. I assume this is a D20 roll of some kind, like old. I mean, a lot of this sort of reminds me of like AD&D First Edition or something. So I imagine that's how it works. So, so a base morale of 10, if it's a D20 roll, it's basically a 50-50 shot. If you get wounded, then you might flee, or if someone in your same squad dies. And then at the beginning of a battle turn, all squads with enough failed morale checks must make a rout check based on the average morale of the squad. Failure results in the squad routing from the battlefield. So a failed morale check does not necessarily mean that you're routed, but if enough of a squad fails their morale checks, you will rout. And so pretty much like it's sort of a cascading thing where if one squad routs, then pretty much everyone's going to rout, and that's usually how battles end. So high morale is good. Strength. This pretty much just factors into your damage. It's added to weapon damage, and total damage is calculated. So our battle axe has normal damage of 9, and we have 11 strength, so that's 20, and then we get 22 from being a two-handed weapon. There you go. Adds an extra 25% of unit strength. So there you go. So 22 damage total. 10 is average, so we're slightly above average on our strength. Attack skill is your chance to hit. Weapon attack bonus is added to this value in attacking. If the attack value is above the defending unit's defense value, the strike will most likely hit the defender. Average is 10. Our battle axe will add 1. So we're pretty much on average for our ability to hit. Defense, however, we are not above average. Without all our armor, we would be right around average, but our armor and shield actually reduce our ability to defend, which is kind of an odd way of looking at it. But if you think of it more as like dodging, then yes, it reduces our ability to dodge attacks because we're depending on our protection to protect us. So that where that fucks us over, obviously, is stuff like fireballs. Because that's, I mean, I don't know, but it probably bypasses armor in some way, or there's definitely going to be spells that bypass protection in some way. So our low defense is going to hurt us there, but, what are the odds we ever go up against a mage? Precision is for ranged attacking. So this is firing missile weapons or casting spells. We are average. We don't have any ranged attacks, though, so pointless. Combat speed. This determines how fast you move in combat. So this is not how many attacks like per turn you get or anything like that. This is just how fast you move across the battlefield. So because of our armor, we're actually below average at 9. Not crippling or anything, but that is something to make note of, is that we are slightly slower units. Map move is how fast we can move on the map in a month. And this is a much bigger factor. You can always move at least one province each month. And that is kind of our saving grace. Because, so to move from I don't know if you have to, I think you have to pay for the one you're moving into. That's usually how it works. So if we wanted to move into a swamp, it would require 14 movement. We have a total of 8 because of our heavy armor. So without that rule, we would never be able to move into a swamp or a mountain or a cave or forest area, basically anything but an open plain. But you can imagine faster units, like an army made up of all faster units, or just a solo commander or a scout unit or something that has much higher map move. They can zip around the map pretty quickly in one turn. But the big slow army, because obviously your speed is determined by the slowest unit in the army, we can only move one province at a time, so it's important to take note of that. A faster army could kind of dance around us. If you're heading in enemy controlled territory, it is +8, so that is a nice thing for us slow units that they can't really bounce through our whole map with impunity. Stealthy units, it's only +6, but still a hefty penalty. And roads actually give a -4 bonus. So theoretically, if we're on a road on an open plain, we could move 2 turns or 2 tiles in one go. Encumbrance, this has to do with how fatigued we get. So every round, every time we attack, we will build up 5 encumbrance. It's a base encumbrance of 2, but our armor and shields add 3, so 5. And once you exceed 100, the unit falls dazed or unconscious to the ground, is unable to move, attack, or defend. But also, as our fatigue increases, we become easier to hit in battle. It's not drastic for us because we're already easier to hit in battle. But yeah, something to take note of. Because like spellcasts, mages that can cast spells that cause fatigue can be very nice against the enemy, making them all easier to hit. Units automatically recover 1 point of fatigue each combat round, or 5 if you are unconscious. So you will get back up fairly quickly, but yeah, that's not something you want to have happen. So 1 point of fatigue each combat round, and we're generating 5 per round, means that we generally don't want combats to go on for too long. But they generally don't. Age, yeah, your units will get older. So if all these infantry stay alive over an extended number of turns, they'll get older, and their attack, defense, precision, encumbrance, hit points, combat speed, map move will all get progressively worse. Units affected by old age risk getting diseased or otherwise afflicted. So yeah. But on the flip side, the more they participate in battle, the more XP they will get. You get 1 XP per month, but you can get more by participating in fights. Each XP level gives a bonus to precision, attack, defense, and morale. Commanders that gain experience will also get a bonus to their research ability and to the number of units they're capable of leading. So XP is good. You want to stay alive, you want to win fights. All pretty obvious. So that's all the stats, all right? So we know then that our base infantry with the battle axe hits pretty damn hard and is pretty defensive. That's where they shine. They don't shine on being quick or avoiding hits. Okay. And so the cost then of that base infantry with battle axe, 10 gold. That's nothing. We have 600 gold per round that we can throw around and stuff. Well, we have 600 gold. We have a lot of gold per round that we can throw around, so it's not that big of a deal. But 29 resources. That is an exorbitant cost. Even our war dog costs 9. 9 recruitment points. That's basically nothing. We have 436 to play with each turn. And again, yeah, all of these are basically per turn kind of things. So how many, if I just wanted these infantry, that's all I cared about was my big battle axes, how many could we recruit per round? That many, essentially. We could recruit 7 of these guys per round. That's not a blisteringly high number, obviously. I mean, we want our army to consist of like 100, 150 units. So that's going to take a while to fill out our ranks with these infantry. We also have crossbowmen. Now, crossbowmen do have a, well, for one, they have 17 protection, which is, as you can imagine, very high for a ranged unit. They have a short sword, which can do 16 damage, also very high for a ranged unit on a melee weapon. And they can pierce with that short sword to reduce the armor of the target by 15%. Pretty good. They're not particularly accurate, but it's fine. But then the Arbalist has a range of 50 squares, which, again, most units are moving 10 squares per turn. So if they're 50 squares away, I can shoot them 5 times before they get to me. So that range is pretty solid. And 15 damage, but pierce. I mean, 15's not incredibly high, but if we have enough crossbowmen, you know, it's going to shred. It's definitely going to shred, especially if they're lightly armored. You know, the protection value of like 5 or something, and they have 10 to 12 health, we're probably getting a lot of kills with those crossbowmen. And if they come into melee, we can hold our own. So crossbowmen are not bad, but they do cost 30 resources, even more than the battle axe guys, because they have 2 weapons. So it's not really a viable choice either, but they are nice. All these units are going to be nice. That's not really the issue. Then we have black plate infantry. These guys get full plate, full helmet, 23 protection is very solid. 6 defense is garbage. They're going to get hit by everything, but they'll shrug it all off. They also get the battle axe for a 22 attack, but 40 resource cost. Meaning that if I just cared about these guys, I could hire 5 per round. Ooh. Yeah. Now, there's all the variants, but these aren't going to change too much. Slight weapon change. So a maul instead of a battle axe or something. The maul gets a bonus on damage against head hits, whereas the battle axe gets a just general damage bonus completely after armor protection has been deducted. Slash damage is more likely to chop off body parts. This is increased before armor is deducted. I'm sorry. So yeah, bludgeoning damage is better against more armored targets. But then we also have the tower shield guys. This is even going to be more of a resource cost. So they get the tower shield, and the way that shields work is they have a parry value. So if an attack would hit the target's normal defense value, but miss if the target added the parry value to its defense, it will hit the shield instead. So you know, I have a defense of 11 here. So if they roll a 14, that would normally hit me, but if we add the 7 of my parry value and it becomes an 18, that is over the 14, and so that'll cause it to be a miss and hit my shield. So shields are obviously pretty good because it's sort of just a straight increase to your defense. I'm sure there's some other nonsense involved with calculations and stuff, but yeah, shields are generally pretty good, especially against like arrows and things like that. You kind of want to, as you can imagine, you want sort of a shield line moving towards a group of archers and stuff like that. But for us, it's more resource costs, so it's a bit tricky. So black plate infantry with a hammer and a tower shield costs 43 resources. Yeesh. We also have pikemen, pikeneers. These are armed with long pikes. So they're pretty much like the rest of our units. Pretty standard, but high protection, low defense. The pike does 18 piercing damage, which is pretty solid. And it has a length of 5. Attacks. So the unit with the longer weapon will be able to repel the enemy when he tries to attack. Attack skill is used against the enemy's defense skill to determine whether the repel is successful or not. A successful repel will not cause any damage, but the enemy loses his attack unless he forces an attack by making a successful morale check and then taking 1 point of damage. Units with size 6+ will receive a 1 point length bonus to any weapon that has a length 1 or more. So basically, they charge into our pikes, and if we beat their defense skill, they then have to make a morale check. And if they fail that, they lose their attack and take a point of damage. I did not have pikes or spears or anything like that in the early age, so I don't really know how these are going to play out. And I'm not sure if you'd want pikemen up front instead of tower shields up front, but it is an option. There's the Black Knight, 72 resources. We're not going to have many of these guys for a long time, but they do get mounts for 20 combat speed. They have kite shields, full plate. They have a lance, length 3, 19 damage with piercing. They have good attack values, 15 health, 23 protection, yeah, and a Morning Star to do bludgeoning. Yeah, they're pretty good. Sappers. Okay. So they have crossbows, but they're not as good as our crossbowmen. They have pickaxes that deal 21 piercing damage, but they're very unlikely to hit. They do get to wear plate cuirasses and half helmets, but their real thing is for sieges. If you attack an enemy fort, you do have to siege it and wear down the walls, which, depending on the number of units in your army, takes anywhere from like instantly to, I don't know, a number of turns, or it's basically impossible. So every sapper counts as 5 soldiers for that purpose. Very specific purpose. We wouldn't want to build these because they're 39 resources. So yeah, and then there's Guardians. Fucking Custodes. Full plate, black halberd that does 27 magic damage and has the effect of Bane of Heresy, which is armor piercing, 15 fatigue damage, but it only affects gods and sacred units. Interesting. Well, obviously they're pretty good, but 46 resources. And then last but not least, the Humble War Dog. So these are our cheapest units, 7 gold, 9 resources, 2 recruitment points. We could field an entire army of war dogs. All right, yeah, I didn't even go over. Okay, yeah, most of my units don't have any special effects. That's right. These guys have siege bonus. These guys have castle defense bonus. That's pretty good. These guys have skilled rider, increased morale and defense skill of his mount. Yeah, most of our units do not have special effects. The War Dog, however, has animal. Can be affected by certain spells and animal abilities that only work on animals. They usually require fewer supplies. And undisciplined. So they cannot be given any specific battle orders, which means that in combat, they will just run straight forward and attack anything in sight. They have 8 hit points, 15 protection, which is, for war dog, seems very good, thanks to their male barding. Low magic resistance, pretty good morale, to be honest. 7 strength is low. Attack skill of 11 is pretty good. Defense skill of 8 is not so good. Combat speed of 16 is pretty good. And an encumbrance value of 6. That armor is heavy on them. So they will have 11 attack and do 9 slash damage, which is pretty low. That's pretty low. And it is slashing damage, so if they're unarmored, it's increased by 25%. which would be like 11 damage. But if we're against unarmored peasants, these dogs will shred pretty good. But chances are we're not against that. So their only real benefit is that they're fucking cheap. And if we wanted to field an army of these things, this is how many we could build per turn. That's a lot of dogs. I don't know if that's really a winning strategy, but it is fucking amusing. I'll give it that. So amusing, I'm almost tempted to just do it. But yeah, I mean, if we're up against even like 20 archers, I mean, they are fast, but yeah, well, 15 protection's not bad. But again, if say we went up against 20 crossbowmen, they'd probably get like 3 shots off. Yeah, 15 reduces 15%. We'd probably do what, like 3 points of damage per shot. Yeah, we'd lose dogs. I mean, we'd lose a lot of dogs. And we'd also barely be able to... I don't know, I don't think we'd even be able to touch them. No, I mean, 9 damage? No, if we're against any armor, these dogs are shit. So, I don't think it's really viable. We need something that's viable against most enemies. So, we might throw in a few dogs in there to round out some numbers, but that's... yeah. So, I think we need to go with a fairly balanced plan here. And I'm probably leaning towards shielded infantry, to be honest. Maybe with the Morning Star for that pierce damage. 17's not phenomenal. I don't know how this works when it has, if it has both. I don't know exactly how that works. Because the hammer could be better if it just does both. Although the Morning Star is a bit more accurate, so we'll go with that. So we can grab, say, 3 of those, and then 4 crossbowmen, and we'll throw in... I can't even throw in a dog, can I? No, these take 9 resources, too. Okay, yeah, and then I think you can queue up another one. We don't have enough, but I think it gets... invested into the next turn of hiring this guy, I believe. Yeah. All right, so then that's 4 crossbowmen and 3 infantry every round, which is not super high, but we're going to get a lot more resources as we control these other provinces. And then you can mark repeat recruitment, get that every round. But we actually don't want to do that. Because, well, we want to repeat, but we don't want to do this setup because we also want to hire a commander. Like I said, you can't send units into battle without a commander commanding them. So we have quite a few options of commanders. Most of them are just different different pieces of equipment, different loadouts. There's the Black Lord, which would be pretty nice to have, but, you know, it's fine. But really what we're interested in are the smiths, the mages, and things like that. Because we want to start doing some amount of research. And we want to start doing some forging. So we're definitely looking at getting a master smith. The Black Acolytes can't research. These are priests, so these are not magic units. These are specifically just for... I mean, you could outfit them as warriors if you get magic items, because they are sacred, so they could benefit from that. And they are priests, but mostly they're used for spreading dominion and stuff like that, or blessing other units. We're not going to hire a Master Mason, Lord Guardian... we could hire a Black Priest who can do a very small amount of research. But, yeah. Or a Priest Smith, which can do 11 research and gets the Forge bonus. That might be what we want to do. I think that is because this is exclusive to our capital. So, but that is, yeah, okay. So we're gonna hire a priest smith, and I guess we could swing, yeah, black acolyte. We already have to ditch one of our crossbowmen, so we're gonna hire a black acolyte. I don't know if that's the smartest option, because I could hire instead a commander of Ulm. But I'd have to ditch another unit to get him. Well, not necessarily, because we could just invest. But I think we want... Yeah, we'll just do this. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. There's a lot. Okay, so... we do start with some commanders, thankfully. So if we go into the army setup, you can see that we start with Henrik, commander of Ulm. So we already have one. He's got the tower shield. He's got a hammer. He is imposing. You know, his stats are not like mind-bogglingly high. They're basically just like that of a normal infantry. He's got 12 defense, which is good for, you know, his situation. 11 attack, 11 strength. That's all pretty normal. He does have higher morale because he's the commander. 19 protection. A little bit higher hit points at 14. Combat speed of 7 is obviously pretty shit. And then he has leadership of 100. That means that he can command and control 100 normal units. Normal being anything that's not magic units or undead units. So magic units are, you know, elementals and all that sort of stuff and various creatures. Leadership covers most things that especially we are going to control. So leadership is obviously the most important thing. So 100 is very good starting value. And he comes in with 12 infantry, battle axe infantry, and 12 pikemen. So 24 units for his army. So what we can do then is go over the formation options, because this is somewhat important. So this will show you the formation of all the commanders and units that are currently in your region. So we have 12 infantry and 12 pikemen. So we want the pikemen out front to meet the initial charge of the enemy. And we can do different formations. So we're going to have a line formation, a sparse line formation. You can do double line, a tight box, or a very loose sort of skirmish formation. I think line is probably what we're looking for. And then for the infantry, yeah, it's hard to say. Now, again, the important thing to consider is that you will have no control once a battle starts. You will only see the aftermath. So you have to kind of visualize how this is going to play out. And then there's the battle order section. So this is going to be the really only control that you have as to what they're going to do in the battle. So you have the option of doing none, which means the commander will decide what the best course of action is for the squad. I don't know how often that's recommended. Attack, they just move towards the enemies right away and start trying to attack them. Hold an attack, they'll hold position for 2 turns and then move forward. Fire means if they have missile weapons, they'll shoot until all the missiles are used up. If enemies are close, or if friendly troops are surrounding the target, the squad will advance or attack instead. Hold and fire means they'll hold for 2 turns before advancing until they get close enough to fire. Fire and keep distance means if an enemy comes close to them, they'll withdraw and continue to fire. Retreat means just they'll leave the battle. And guard commander means that they will stick close to their commander. So if we pick attack, you can then pick the target. None just picks a random unit. Probably not recommended. Enemy archers, obvious. Cavalry, flyers, obvious. Large enemy monsters, closest enemy, and the rearmost enemy. So there's no option to just hold position. You know, eventually they kind of have to move. So I think the best option is probably hold and attack and the closest enemy. And I think that's going to be true for our other infantry too. Now you could do something, I guess, where you kind of position them off to the side in the hopes that they do some flanking. But again, you can't control. It's not like Total War. You can't exactly control their movement. So for a new player, it's really kind of tough to visualize how it's all going to play out and how this will happen. I should mention we will always be. Well, the attacker will always be on the left side of the field. The defender always on the right side of the field. So this will just be reversed if we're defending. But yeah, so if we have it like this, we'll both hold 2 turns. Then we'll move forward this way. We'll move forward this way until we come close to an enemy, I guess. I think there's something to do with a morale check to see if you stop the fight. I don't know exactly. And then we'll converge. But yeah, we definitely want to be slightly behind the pikemen, but not too far behind the pikemen. So I guess try something like that. And then you can also move your different commanders. So for Henrik, you know, he's probably going to be kind of up front with the pikemen and stuff. And he gets a little bit more specific of battle orders. So he can actually, you can have up to 5 steps queued, and then what he'll do after those steps are completed. So we can have him hold for 2 turns like the rest, and then go and attack the closest enemy, just like the pikemen. So that's a very basic setup. Then we have a Mangg, and if we go into his options, you can see he can cast specific spells at the start of battle. So he has the option of Poison Touch or Flying Shards. These are level 0 alteration and evocation spells for nature and earth. And the reason we have no options is because we've done no research. So right now he is just a big bore. So if we want him to participate in a battle, he could hold for 2 turns and then go and attack. And he could pick stuff that's not the closest enemy. He could go for the rearmost enemy instead. Or he could specifically target enemy archers if they're present. And he could, you know, be off to here. Something like that. And you can see a Mangg can actually also lead units himself. So he can lead 100 living units and 70 magic units. This first number, this is how many squads you can have without getting morale penalties. So Henrik, with no penalties, he can command 3 different squads, which is important because you want to give them different positions and different orders. Like your archers, you don't want to give the same orders as your infantry. A Mangg can also command 3 squads, which is nice. Then we have Tancred. Tancred is a spy, so he's a scout unit. He is literally there just to move around the map, explore the map, find out about enemy unit counts, and blah, blah, blah. He's got Stealthy 60. You can put him in combat, but it's certainly not what he's designed for. Right. So now we have to decide how we want to spend our first turn exactly, because we have to give orders to all our commanders. Every commander can do something, and you generally want them to do something. So for Tancred, we want him to go spy on shit. So we probably want to send him over to Redbud Grove. Whoops. Redbud Grove. And he'll start scouting out that area. For Henrik... Whoops. Buttons. So Henrik has the specific option of becoming our prophet. Remember, we can only have 1 prophet at a time, but you always want to have one because they spread dominion like your pretender god, just at a slower rate. They become, once they do so, it takes 1 turn to do it, but once they do it, they become a level 3 priest. meaning they get access to your priest spells. If they are already a level 3 priest, they become a level 4 priest, however. That's the only exception. So if we could get a level 3 priest, it might be smarter to make them a prophet to get actually level 4 priest, but I don't believe Ulm has access to a level 3 priest, so we are safe on that front. So there is some debate about who you actually make into your prophet. If your prophet ever dies, I believe you have to wait 6 turns before you can pick another prophet. So that is a factor. But Henrik, I mean, he's our main guy. I don't think there's a reason not to make him a prophet, except that it takes up our first turn. But we'll do it. And then there is a Mangg. Now, he could actually contribute to research. He has a research value of 8. And actually, we should go into the research. So here's the different schools of magic: conjuration, alteration, evocation, construction, enchantment, thaumaturgy, and blood magic. And we're at level 0 with everything. We don't know any spells, really. And we have to spend a certain amount of points, or we have to contribute a certain amount of points in order to unlock the higher levels. So we are mostly interested in construction and enchantment and conjuration, I believe. So if we go to enchantment, you can see the level 1 spells here. We're mostly, again, interested in the earth stuff and the nature stuff. So if we get level 1 enchantment, if we have level 2 earth magic, which our pretender god board does, he can cast Strength of Giants, which will give a few nearby soldiers increased strength, +4 strength. It's an area effect of 1, so it's 1 square, which means basically 3 soldiers will get +4 strength. I don't know how long it lasts. I assume the whole combat, but I have no idea. Most combats are not especially lengthy. And it has a range of 5, so he has to be kind of close, and that's usually why you hold at the start of a battle with all your units that are going to be getting buffs. Because it takes time, they have to be next to him, and blah, blah, blah. And it costs 20 fatigue, so you can't cast this, infinitely. You can only cast it 5 times before you hit 100 fatigue. So that's good. For nature magic, there's Healing Touch. You have to be next to the caster, and it'll heal for 30 damage. But, our boar's not really going to be doing that. So we're mainly trying to snipe spells that our boar can buff on himself in order to be more of a threat. So level 2 enchantment gets personal regeneration. Gives the caster regenerative powers. Not many specifics there to be listed, but I would imagine that's something that we want. If we had crossbowmen on the field, we could envenom their arrows. +5 AN poison damage. I don't know what that means, but it's poison damage. So those are decent options to start with. Conjuration. These are all summon spells. And you can see there's a lot of nature stuff in there. So, we'll be able to do this pentagram. That means it's a ritual. That means you have to be at a lab and you have to spend your turn casting the spell. And most of these are going to require gems. So, summon ogres. This is a level 2 conjuration spell. Requires 7 earth gems to cast it. And it will summon 5 ogres into your army, +1 for every 2 extra levels the caster has, which means that if you are level 3 earth magic, you'll get 6 ogres. So if you have enough spellcasters and you have enough gems, yes, you can just fill out an entire army with ogres, fire ants, shades, wolves, killer mantis, scorpion beasts, all this kind of fun stuff. Most of these are going to be undisciplined, which means, much like the war dogs, you can't give them commands. They just go forward and attack. But they're usually, you know, decently powerful, and they're relatively cheap. Or rather, they take a different form of currency, you know, compared to your normal men. So they're kind of nice. Alteration, more buffs, but also debuffs, things like that. Personal bark skin would be very nice. Natural protection +7, max up to 10, or +1 if already 9 or higher. I'm pretty sure our boar already has a high natural protection. Personal stone skin, natural protection +10, up to +15, or +3 if already 12 or higher. That's not bad. Or enlarge, but that's not a personal buff. Yeah, it's hard to say what exactly I want to bum rush towards, but construction is very important for us because level 1 allows you to make magic trinkets, which sounds lame, but it's basically just the lowest level of magic items, but it does still include magic swords and armor and shields and stuff like that. So I think construction is going to be pretty important for us, just for the sake of starting to crank out some of those magic items. And also at level 2 you can start making clockwork soldiers and stuff like that, and gives the nice temper armor buff, area of effect 5+, range 15, and gives +3 protection to all armor parts, making our guys even more durable. So we're gonna go construction level 1 for sure, and then enchantment level 1, followed by conjuration level 1. Maybe then construction 2. Right. So a Mangg can research and contribute research points, but not many. He can cast a ritual spell if we had any, because there is a lab here where he's at. He can forge a magic item if we had construction of any kind. He could do alchemy to turn magic gems into astral pearls or some types of gems into gold. Alchemy is instantaneous, so it doesn't take up his turn or anything. Empowerment is anything every commander can do. It allows you to spend large quantities of magic gems to get new magic paths or become better in one you already know. So he actually could spend 75 earth gems to get to level 5 earth. So there is a way to level up your magic during the game. He could blood hunt, capturing young girls with special blood required for blood magic, but we don't do blood magic. He could patrol the province to try to find hidden enemy troops or reduce unrest by killing brigands. Or he could pillage to find food for the army and to find as much gold as possible, but pillaging our own region is not too bright. Or he could go and attack, which is what I'm inclined to do, even though that's kind of a dumb option because he is our pretender god, and I don't know what happens if he dies. Yeah, I mean, he does have recuperation, and he is powerful. I don't know what happens if he dies in battle. He is pretty powerful, though. But the thing is, right now, we have no idea what's in these other spots, and I feel like sending him in is a little stupid. There's also no way to save and, like, reload. There's no save. Every game you play is Iron Man. There is an option, I guess, to save scum by messing around with some of, like, the files or something. Like, you can go into the folder and make a copy of the save currently, and then if you want to save scum, you just copy that back into the folder later. I wouldn't really do that, but it is an option. I think for the end of the video, let's just send him into battle, see how it goes. And if it's really horrible and he dies and it's like catastrophic, we can just start over next time. I mean, the map will be different, but everything I've said won't change. So just for the sake of ending the video, let's send him into Scythia. Sure, it'll be fine. Okay? So then, as something I learned, it doesn't really matter right now, but if you press the N button, that will go to the next commander. Because the game will warn you when you end your turn, telling you if you have any commanders that are just not doing anything. And that means basically any commander that's just listed on defend. Because generally defend is just... There's always going to be something probably better for you to do than defending. Because even patrolling is better than defending most of the time. So pressing N towards the end of your turn just to make sure you've done everything you can. It doesn't cover everything because obviously you might need to recruit or something like that. But at least it covers all your commanders. Sorry, and then we end turn. And it ticks by and then gives us the whole overview of everything that happened at the end of the previous turn. So, Amalgade, the Rock, Lord of the Soil, Great Defender, ascends the location of 5 previously undiscovered thrones. So now all the thrones will show on our map. We have different proclamations. So most of the AI nations actually made their own prophets. That's what all those proclamations are, including our own. Then we had the battle in Scythia. Ho ho ho! So, our lord, our pretender god, slew 37 men solo. And funnily enough, his light cavalry killed 3 units, which means he killed 3 of his own men. So let's take a look at the battle, because this will be amusing enough. So there's our solo boar. And he's holding as they all approach. Yeah, I told you, like, you have a good commander or a good lord or something like they can definitely solo small armies. And this wasn't even that small of an army. I wouldn't have taken this on had I known. But now I see how powerful he is. So he just stands resolute. He's still not attacking. But now... Oh, and he's taking some fucking damage, too. Damn. Okay, he's berserked. So they will fire into their own men. And there is friendly fire. So he is, he's killing horses. He killed some guy on his horse. And now the whole army swooping in. Okay, no, he's taking practically no damage. And he's trampling. So if we turn on detailed battle log, then we can actually see. So he trampled for 8 points of damage. Light cavalry hit militia with their short bow for 5 points. Hit boar 0, 0. Hit boar 3. Light cavalry hit riding horse for 4 points of damage. Trampled for 10. Trampled for 11. They hit him for 0. Trampled for 14. Hit him for 0, 0, 0. So many 0. Like, that's protection at work. Oh, man. Hitting for 33 points of damage. Yeah, so he just takes practically nothing and then just stomps everything he targets. I'm curious to know what his fatigue values are at. Okay, so at this point, he's at 90 fatigue. So he is getting up there. His defense is at 0 now because of that. But he has 24 protection, so it's very tough for them to hit him. But they have wounded him almost to half, I believe. Oh, over half. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it was risky. It was very dumb. If this was further in the game, I definitely wouldn't have done something so stupid. But there you go. We routed him. They routed them, and good to go. With him at 100 fatigue, 40 hit points. Yeah, had they had like 20 more guys or something like that, it could have been a lot worse. Or just like any magic units or any sort of heavier unit with piercing could have gone a lot worse. There you go. But the boar won, baby. Solo. All right. And an unexpected event has occurred in Ulm. You always hate to see that, but this was a good one. Plus 7 air gems we found. Lightning struck a large boulder. Okay. Now we can see a lot more information. Holy shit. Now all has been revealed. So, first of all, we gain control of Scythia. So there's that. Scythia is also plains and river. It's got 16,000 population in it. You wouldn't guess that, but it does. So it contributes 137 income, which is good. I mean, it's definitely solid, but you can tell just like how impactful your capital is with 586. So 137 contributes 46 resources. That means that it contributes 46 resources here. So if we try to recruit here in Scythia, that's how much we get per month. You'll also notice that we can't recruit any of our own types of units here. We recruit what was here. These are the types of units here in Scythia. So militia, light cavalry, heavy cavalry. And I believe these are all sort of heavily increased in costs for various reasons. I think. I mean, I don't know exactly, but yeah. So I mean, mixing and matching different units is almost essential, I think, for winning. Because like we're gonna have to go out into the ocean to get one of the thrones if we want to win, and our units are not really seafaring. You know, they can't go underwater or anything like that. So, you know, you kind of have to recruit different types of units, I think. So if we wanted to get some light cavalry, that wouldn't be too expensive. They're not super good or anything. They have leather armor. Their protection value is only a 7. They have a 13 defense. It's okay. But they are fast. And they do have short bows with range 35. So if we wanted just some cheaper ranged units, that is an option for us. And every turn we could snag 6 of them, which is something to consider. And right now those resources, like, they're pretty much going to waste. Our resource value in Ulm was increased. I wish I could see like a full breakdown of those values. But you can see, like, what did we had this before, right? And we were almost out of, like, we were basically out of resources. Now we have 107 more per turn. And that's because we grabbed Scythia. So we are contributing a lot of resources to Ulm now, thanks to our kick-ass fortress. But these 46, those will go to waste every round if we don't recruit. So there's no reason really not to do this. And we may as well grab a mounted commander, which, you know, it's going to take a while then to fill all this out, but we'll repeat on the light cavalry and just grab one mounted commander at some point. So grabbing Scythia was good. Like I said, we don't want to build a fort here, though, because that will cut off all those extra resources to Ulm. And we want all that shit going to Ulm because it has the biggest sort of multiplier for resource values. So this, and all the unique units that we can only build in Ulm. So that was a big factor, because now we can recruit a lot more shit to Ulm. So now we can grab probably like 2 more of those, give or take 2 more of each, because we'll be getting more resources as time goes on, so that's all fine. We're probably also going to want to start just spamming master smiths, because it's really our only source of research. So for now, let's just spam that, and yeah, I don't know, a couple docks. Yeah, so that's a factor. Also, our Dominion has automatically spread now quite a bit. It's just part of the first turn ending kind of thing, I think. Because now also we have a lot more information than we used to. So our Dominion has spread pretty far. So you can see that Scythia has Dominion strength of 2. So it's got a little bit of buff in productivity, growth, and luck. Not as much as Ulm with Dominion strength 3, but more than Trensibor at Dominion strength 1 for us. Productivity 1, growth 1, drain 1, Redbud Grove, Order 1, Productivity 1, Luck 1, Drain 1. So we want to keep increasing this Dominion strength, because that'll increase all these buffs. And obviously we want to, at the very, very, very least, you want to very quickly control all the regions connected to Ulm directly. So we want to control Trensibor, Redbud Grove, and Feral Woods in order to max out our resources so we can quickly build up a big army or two. But we also now can see that there are units in Feral Woods, Redbud Grove, and Trensibor. So we can see that Trensibor has 100 units, around about 100 units, consisting mainly of militia, heavy infantry, and archers. So pretty similar to what we just fought, but instead of cavalry, it's heavy infantry and archers. That's not going to be a light battle, to say the least. Redbud Grove has 140 units, mainly Lion Tribe warriors and Lion Tribe archers. That's a lot of units. They're definitely pretty weakly armored and stuff like that. You won't be able to look at their stats on this screen or any screen. Well, not until you're in battle. All of this information is, of course, online if you want to go search on that. But, yeah, they're not going to be super heavily armored or anything. And then the Feral Woods has 120 Lion Tribe archers and Lion Tribe warriors. So none of these fights are going to be super easy. But they're also, I mean, that's not going to be super damaging, I would guess. These are not barbarians or anything. So they kind of win by numbers. So honestly, I wouldn't expect Amalgad to do that poorly. Especially now as he gained 2 stars of XP off of that. So now his attack skill is even higher. Independents will never move, I don't believe. So they'll never like move to take over your places or anything. They are just spots. They're just garrisons on the map that you kind of have to defeat to gain territory. So we don't really have to worry about that. So I can move away from Scythia with Amalgad in order to take over other stuff. Wick Forest only has 50 units, Bear Tribe warriors. I think they might be a little bit more powerful, but hard to say. But I don't really care about Wick Forest just yet. I care about these other 3. Sylvania does have a Throne of Ascension, so this is one of the things we need to hold to win the game. But, I mean, getting one is... We do get a benefit from it, but it's not super important, and it's guarded by 150 units. So, yeah, not a major concern. We see that Redbud Grove has a haunted village in it. So that will produce 1 death gem per turn if there is a lab built there. So that's a non-hidden site, but most sites are going to be hidden, and you have to search for them with your mages. So one thing that now we can do with Amalgad if we want in Scythia is search for magic sites. So by doing that, if there are any magic sites theoretically available to him to be found, he'll probably find them. The way that it works is that the hidden sites have a requirement that's based on different magic elements. So if it's like an earth grove or whatever, or an earth, or like a nature grove, you have to have a mage searching that has a certain level of nature magic. I believe that's how it works. It might not be a requirement. It might just be like a scaling percentage based on their nature level or something like that. But it does have to do with the element. So ideally, you'd be searching with different mages that cover all the elements. So you have the best chance of finding any hidden sites there. But most nations are not going to have access to every element. So if there's any earth or nature hidden sites in Scythia, Amalgad will almost certainly find them. So your Pretender God usually is pretty valuable for finding hidden sites because of their good magic to start out with, compared to our kind of shitty, like this guy, 1 fire, 2 earth. I really should end the video. There's just so much. I can keep going. I just can keep. I really should end though. Anything else I want to throw in here right at the end? Definitely ending. Well, now that we have a priest smith, he's probably just going to be researching for a good while. He could search for magic sites in Scythia as well, but it would take him a turn to move there, and then another turn to search, and that's only if there's a fire magic site there, because he has level 1 fire. That would be the only gap we're sort of filling in, so it's almost not really worth it. Since he's a priest, priests can preach the teachings of God to raise dominion of the region. So it depends on the level of the priest and the level of dominion. So Henrik is now a level 3 priest because we made him our prophet, so he can actually preach here. The dominion strength can be increased to a maximum equal to twice the level of the priest, plus 1 if a temple is present. There is a temple here. He's level 3, so that means he could raise this up to level 7 dominion strength. Yeah, I don't know all the factors that go into what dominion strength correlates to, but yeah, obviously higher is better. So we could have Henrik do that for a while if we really wanted to bump up Ulm quite a bit. But it's hard to say. But mostly what we want Agiluf to do is research, because he's our only researcher at the moment. Lothar is a priest, so he mostly can do spreading the word of God. But that really only matters. He's such a low-level priest, So unless there's a temple present, he can't really do much. He could go to Scythia, but it's already at Dominion Strength 2. So if there was a temple there, he could go to 3. But right now, he can't do shit. So he doesn't actually serve much purpose. I'm not sure why I built him, but I'm still learning. Yeah, it's hard to say. And we can't forge any items until we get the research done. So mostly that's all we care about. I probably shouldn't have built this guy. So he'll just be patrolling and that'll be it. Oh yeah. So we got Scythia. So we can actually raise its provincial defense, which will bump up to 11. Does cost me some gold for a one-time fee, but it's fine. We're getting an okay amount of income now. And our guys don't cost that much gold. So, as for what Henrik wants to do, probably just preach. I mean, we're still kind of waiting to get more units before I want to move into the Feral Woods, but it is possible that actually with these guys, I wonder how crossbowmen work with like shooting into the back of your guys. I wonder if I should be putting them over here to prevent that. So we have 30 units plus the boar against, yeah, 120 is just kind of too much. I mean, 100, I don't know. This seems rough. It's a lot of guys. I could maybe consider it with the boar, just because I let me look. I know I was gonna end the video. I know. I just want to look up Lion Tribe Warrior stats. Lion Tribe Warriors. They only have a strength of 10. This isn't where I need to be. There's a fucking... what do they call it? Spectre. Dominion 6 Inspector. Yeah, so, Lion Tribe Warrior. Here we go. Right, so damage on their spears are 13. It's piercing damage, so it's cuts off 15% armor. But I still think the boar shrugs that off. They have javelins, but that's even less damage. And then the archers do 11. It's piercing. But still, that's... I mean, we're talking about 13 or 11 damage or so. I mean, I wanted him to search, yeah, but it's good to just get as many territories around your base as fast as possible to build up a big army. It's 19 protection, minus 15% is what? Let's see, minus 20% of 20 is 4. So, say he drops him down to 15. He shrugs off everything. As far as I understand, he shrugs off everything. Fuck it, we're doing it. I was going to search, but we'll wait on that. Let's do it. I'm not even going to send in the other army. We're just going to do the boar solo again. Alright, and then Tancred will head over to Remesia to search. Okay, let's do it. There's a battle in Feral Woods. He conquered. He killed 43 of them solo. They also killed 4 of their own. I didn't get any of their leaders, but for independence, it doesn't matter. They're just gone. We want to watch it again because it's awesome. The boar. I probably shouldn't have him hold. He should just be charging. Yeah, he's holding way too long. Look at that. Nothing. Nothing. Doesn't give a shit. Look at him go. Shredding, trampling. Oh my god, he's unstoppable. Why do they have some trees in there? Did he take damage? No. No, no damage. There you go. There you go, baby. Awesome. That feels damn good. There you go. Now we have gained 2 regions. Our resources in Ulm are up to 457. Holy shit, we can get a lot of units. That's a lot of resources, man. You don't even know. And you probably know. Yeah, there you go. That's pretty great. We're doing well. I mean, we're playing against easy AI, but still. Alright, I got in. That was a good... I wanted this video, honestly, to be like an hour and 20 minutes. So we went a bit overboard, but there's just so much to talk about, and it's so very exciting. You know, it's just these occasional things that remind me of how fucking nerdy I am, but that's okay. Dominion 6. Damn good. But, yeah, plenty more to go. Obviously, these games are not quick or anything. It takes quite a while to actually win. So, I don't know if that will actually... If we're actually going to play through a whole game here, but the point was I wanted to just talk about Dominion 6. And, yeah, so that's it. And there'll be more in the future. So, for now, my name is Mangg. Game watching has been Dominion 6. And I'll see you fine folks in the next part.